can I talk to anybody individually about these knives? Let's go to the Manor Grounds.
When I'd first arrived at the manor house, I thought it might rain that evening. And in light of recent events, I half expected a flash of lightning to provide an atmospheric backdrop to the stage of our little drama, complete with the clap of thunder as the applause. But the night air hung cold and still, and the only sound was the rustling of weeds and brush that clawed against the foundations of the building. Wait, rustling? But there isn't any wind. Who's that out there?
Oh,
It's just me, Misfortune, ma'am.
Clops.
I say, what in the world are you doing skulking about in the brush like that? Don't tell me they get you to do the groundskeeping around here, too.
Sometimes I do a bit of gardening, yes. You know, when things get out of hand.
Gardening, at a time like this?
Well, no, ma'am. Right now, I'm keeping an eye out for strangers, just to keep everyone safe.
What a relief. I do feel ever so much safer when a hulking man with an eye patch is lurking in the shadows right outside the house.
Ooh, let's examine. Let's examine real quick. Then I'm gonna talk to him.
There were stories from the time of the Revolutionary War that when soldiers first stormed the grounds of the Lee Manor, ferocious spectral beasts appeared out of nowhere to tear apart the terrified trespassers. Of course, you can't believe everything you hear. But I found myself keeping a watchful eye on the wolf statues in the courtyard, just to be sure.
Okay, anything else? Ooh. You know what? I think we should just talk to Clops, huh? Just talk to Clops. Ooh.
A rundown shed sat in the corner of the yard. Gingerly, I tried the door, but the wood had swollen, and it seemed stuck in its frame. It was just as well, I suppose. Ugh. Why would I want to go inside a moldy old shed anyway?
Curiosity. Okay, we're here, so we're here. So let's talk to Clops. Finding the body? What are you doing?
My dear Clops, please tell me you didn't really think there might still be a stranger lurking around here in the underbrush.
Well, ma'am, no one was watching the door when the prince was in the hall. Whoever did it could have run right out the front door.
Why, indeed they could have. Not much gets by you, it seems. And yet, here you are, searching through the weeds at the base of the house. With the coast clear, would our furtive stranger not just have kept going?
I'm sure he probably did. I'm just looking for footprints.
Clops is trying to hide something.
Oh, footprints now. Ah, yes, of course. And have you found any?
No, ma'am.
More's the pity. It would have been so much nicer to believe the killer was no longer in the house. Especially with our resident bodyguard busy traipsing through the muck outside.
Sorry, ma'am, but I'm just a valet.
Of course you are.
Okay, finding the body.
So, you were in quite the tizzy when you came running to find me earlier. Was it you who found the body?
Yes, ma'am. I found it in the hall, just like you saw.
And what were you doing before that?
Well, I let the boss, the prince, into the hall to take his phone call. Then I went to the pantry to get more candles for the dining room. I didn't know how long Horatio was going to be with the lights.
So, the prince was alone then when you left him in the hall?
Yes, ma'am. Without a doubt.
Why then, it appears you may have been the last one to see the poor prince alive.
Wouldn't that actually have been the killer, ma'am?
Good point. Killer would have been the last one to see him alive.
I suppose so. But then, you did just say you were quite certain he was alone.
What do you mean by that? I'm just doing my job here.
Oh, yes, of course. I'm sure you're quite excellent at, well, whatever it is that valets do.
Oh, that phone call. Here, but
Can you tell me anything about our late host? Perhaps about this grand announcement of his?
About the boss? I mean, the prince? Sorry, ma'am, but he wasn't the sort to confide in a mere valet like myself.
Oh, come now. I know how it is with servants. You're bound to have seen or heard a thing or two about the house, whether your master knows it or not.
Look, I take my duties seriously. I make it a point not to see things that I'm not supposed to see.
Yes, I suppose not seeing things would be rather a specialty of yours. Tell me, have you worked for the prince for a long time?
Yes, ma'am. Many years now.
And you're still just a valet? Tisk tisk. Promotions must be hard to come by in that household.
that phone call.
That's right. In all this commotion, I'd almost forgotten the whole reason the prince left us was to take a phone call. Do you know who was calling?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Well, that's a little odd. They didn't give a name.
I asked, but they said the matter was confidential.
So you spoke to them then. Can you describe anything at all about the caller?
Yes, I took the call, and they asked for the prince right away. Which is a bit funny, now that you mention it. I didn't think very many people would have this number.
Ah,
Anyway, pretty sure the caller was a woman. She was all crisp and businesslike, too. I'm afraid I can't tell you more than that.
I suppose it would be too much to hope that this rotting old place would have call display.
No, ma'am. It's a wonder most of the wiring around here even works at all.
Must be magic, I suppose.
okay, right. Well, I got 15 minutes left. Suppose should I gather everybody? Where do I gather them all at in the, just go back, should I go back to the dining room? Dining hall. Oh, you know, that's where, what's his name is, huh? Here, no, let's leave. Main hall? See if anybody's in the main hall. I'm just gonna have to gather everybody and I don't know who the killer is though. Oh, new money, here we go.
So, my poor little girl. I was talking to my friend the Comtessa, and she told me she'd heard people at court say the rudest things about your late family.
I suppose they might have done. Sometimes people will say things that are quite unkind. I try not to let it bother me.
Still, it must be awfully hard being a new money family when there are so many busybodies who go on and on about tradition and blue blood and that sort of thing.
Oh, I don't think so. Some people will say cruel things about anybody. I've heard them say things even about the Comtessa, too. So it wasn't just us.
About the Comtessa, really? I thought you said you didn't listen to that sort of thing.
I try not to. But Titanico talked about it sometimes. I think he knew the Comtessa's last husband before he passed away.
My goodness! Surely he didn't imply that she was in any way responsible. That would be unthinkable.
Well, he did say there were rumors. But I'm sure that's all they were. Like I said, people say nasty things sometimes.
Yes, my dear. They most certainly do.
Okay, alright. So, have I done everything in the king bedroom?
I returned returned to the king bedroom, where I'd been when the whole grisly affair started. I thought it might give me a chance to think by myself, but alas, it was not to be. The curtains were drawn back, and a particularly pernicious twerp of a girl was leaning halfway out the window. After what had already happened, it would be such a shame were she to slip and go out all the way. Young girls these days really ought to be more careful.
See.
So your friend Miss Charisse, just how long had she been seeing our dear departed host?
Not that long, but he seemed pretty intense about it. Nighttime river cruises, the opera, the theater, you name it.
Ah, swept off her feet into a whirlwind romance with a dark and mysterious dashing older man. Your friend must have been positively giddy with excitement.
Something like that, yeah.
Oh, it must have been so hard for you, being left out of all that and resigned to watching from the sidelines.
Yeah, right. That kind of high society stuff isn't really my thing.
No, I suppose not.
Come to think of it, Wizard Boy sometimes looked a little pouty at being left out, though.
Oh.
Did he really? How do you know? Did he tell you so?
No, nothing like that. Just an impression I got. Not really my business anyway. As long as Sherry's happy, I'm happy. That's all that matters.
I see. So, was she happy?
It was what she wanted. So yeah.
And try though you might, you just can't bring yourself to sound happy about that. My, how curious.
Look, if you're gonna pry any further, you'd better go get yourself a crowbar, don't you think?
Okay, what are you doing? Oh, here, murder mystery.
So, your sweet little friend. She can be quite the tease, it seems. I was just talking to her earlier, and she let it drop that this wasn't her first murder case.
You must think you're very clever for worming that out of her. You know, I bet you're one of those people who think they're a lot smarter than they really are, aren't you?
My dear Leah, something like that is not exactly the wisest thing to say when you're perched precariously on the edge of a window. It's ever so fortunate that I'm in a good mood today.
A good mood. Here, now. How could... No, never mind. I forgot who I was talking to.
In any case, my dear, Miss Charisse said the only other one here who was involved in that case was you. No matter how smart I might or might not think I am, surely you can't blame me for wondering whether it might be relevant to our current predicament.
Well, it's not. Not directly, anyway.
Aha! Not directly. Now we're getting somewhere.
Look, I don't want to talk about it, and I'm sure Sherry said the same thing. It was bad. For everyone, but especially for her. The truth she learned that day, she's never going to forget. And she definitely doesn't need you dredging it all up.
Oh.
There's no need to tell me, darling. She learned the truth about her family, didn't she? That not all that lovely money of theirs was obtained through, how shall we say, completely honest business. It's plain as day, really. Insufferably idealistic young socialite comes into her fortune and starts throwing it at every charitable cause she can find out of guilt. Oh yes, I know her type well enough.
We learned that a family had been mixed up with some really bad people. No, more than just bad. With true evil.
And so it turns out her life of wealth and comfort was built on the blood of innocence. So very tragic for her, I'm sure.
She just wants to make up for it all. Make it all right again. Sometimes I worry she thinks she can carry the weight of the whole world if she pushes herself hard enough.
Yes, I did say insufferably idealistic, didn't I?
If by that you mean a better person than you'll ever be, then yeah, that's spot on. She just needs someone to watch her back. That's all.
And let me guess, you'd do whatever it takes to keep your dear little friend safe, wouldn't you?
Whatever it takes.
My, such ardor, such resolve. Remind me never to get on your bad side, darling.
Too late.
Who called the house?
So, who was it then that called the house?
If I tell you, will it get you to leave me alone?
My dear girl, this predicament affects all of us. If you found out anything that might be in the least helpful, surely it's in all of our interest for you to share it.
I'll take that as a yes. Fine. The number is 11223344. It's a business number registered to Oxley Accounting Services.
An accountant? Doesn't exactly sound like a social call, now does it?
Who knows? Far as I can tell, this Prince Titanico had some pretty weird friends.
You haven't tried contacting them then?
Nah, that'd mean talking to more weirdos. I'd rather try and hack into their private email or something and see what's up.
I'll leave you to it, my dear.
Okay, well, let's go call that number. Dial number? I don't know, it's just what else trying?
Oxley Accounting Offices. That's what that Leah girl had said. Of course, she could have just been making it up to get rid of me. I'd certainly do the same to her. But...
Oxley Accounting Offices, Oxley speaking. Are you a new or pre-existing client?
To tell you the truth, I'm not really sure.
I see. That doesn't bode well for the organizational state of your paperwork.
Actually, I'm calling on behalf of a friend.
In that case, please be advised then that I will only be able to answer the most basic of queries without certified written permission from your associate, or friend, as you call them.
Sadly, I fear my friend's signature would be difficult to obtain at the moment, but I think basic queries will do well enough for now.
Did you call the house?
Now, Miss Oxley, was it? You sound like a very organized person. Can you tell me if you called this number earlier this evening?
Yes, I log all of my calls, both incoming and outgoing. And yes, I did call this number at 8:32 p.m. Sharp, of course.
Yes, 8:30. That sounds about right. Wait a minute. Isn't that rather late for an accounting office to still be open?
An 8-hour business day is standard in many sectors, but we take our work very seriously here at Oxley Accounting. Besides which, it was requested that I call at precisely that time.
Requested? How odd. Requested by whom?
In the absence of written consent, I am not authorized to provide that information.
Oh, of course you're not. How silly of me. Can you at least tell me if you spoke to anyone when you called?
Yes, the call was answered. I asked to speak with a particular individual and was told to wait.
And you did wait then?
For 4 minutes and 36 seconds, yes.
And after such an oddly specific yet arbitrary amount of time, you hung up?
Certainly not. Someone picked up, I introduced myself again, and then they hung up.
How rude. To think anyone could hang up on such an obviously charming personality as yours. Might you happen to know a man called Prince Titanico?
I am familiar with that name, yes. In fact, I was hoping I might speak to him. Is he there?
I'm afraid that really won't be possible.
Very well. In that case, please inform him I will continue to try to contact him at regular intervals.
Oh, you can try. Can you tell me, was Prince Titanico a client of your office?
In the absence of written consent, I am not authorized to provide that information.
But if you're trying to contact him, you must have some kind of business relation with him.
In the absence of written consent, I am not authorized to provide that information.
You can be just insufferably obstinate, can't you?
If by that you mean thoroughly professional, then yes.
Same thing, really.
Oh, my client is dead.
Miss Oxley, I'm not entirely sure how to tell you this, but Prince Titanico is dead.
I see. That will definitely have some ramifications for my paperwork.
Not only that, but it seems rather likely that he was killed precisely when he came to answer your phone call.
Noted. I suppose that explains why he hung up so abruptly and didn't call back.
Yes, didn't you find that a little bit odd at the time?
Not really. For certain types of business, it's quite common to encounter some reluctance on behalf of the other party.
But hang on, I thought the prince was your client. Why would he be reluctant to speak with his own accountant?
Accounting is not the only service we provide at our office. We also perform audits, credit checks, and financial investigations of various sorts.
Of course, now it makes sense. The prince was being audited, wasn't he?
In the absence of written consent, I am not authorized to provide that information.
It's quite all right, dearie. I can connect the dots myself. You've been ever so helpful, in spite of yourself, really.
You are welcome to log your opinion of our interaction on our office's website feedback form. Now, exactly who was I speaking with again? Are you with the police?
Ah, no. They're on their way. My name's Misfortune. I'm one of the guests.
I'm quite sure that name has been in my files before. Something to do with a possible inheritance tax irregularity from a deceased spouse? Let me check.
That won't be necessary. Besides, the wiring is a bit dodgy in this place. The phone could go out at any moment. Ta-ta then!
Very interesting.
What have we here? There's an extra wire clipped to the back of the phone. I'm quite certain this sort of phone doesn't normally need more than one wire. Let's just leave it alone for now, shall we?
Ooh, full wire tampering. And which one do I need? The queen bedroom? Is that where I gather everybody to solve the mystery? Let's see. I think it's queen bedroom. Okay, where do I... Which one do I go to together if I talk to queen bedroom? Is it the... smoking room? Yep, smoking room, okay. Am I sure I'm ready for this? There's no going back after I call everyone here. I guess. Who is it though? Is it the guy with the head with the... Any more information? I don't know. Okay, here we go. Well,
The police weren't yet here, but it made no matter. I had seen everything I needed to see. It was time to lay this mystery to rest and expose the guilty party for all to see. I do so love it when someone other than me gets their comeuppance.
I'm not totally sure who it is though. Is it him? Is it Tessa? Who did it? No, someone who wanted him dead because...
Wonderful. Everyone's here. I guess that means we can begin.
Begin, what exactly?
Why, exposing the murderer, of course.
You mean you know who it is?
Of course I do, my dear. Don't you?
Well, no. I'm not sure. At least not yet.
Pity. You were the one who said we had to see the truth for ourselves or something, weren't you? Well, it's a good thing that at least one of us has been busy this past little while.
Come now, darling, you simply can't keep us in suspense like this. Are you going to tell us or not?
Who did it, though?
Yeah, after all this, it better be good. Not that I'm getting my hopes up or anything, mind you.
Tut tut. All in good time, my dear little girl. First, we all need to agree on some basic facts. Mr. Klops, you've been posted out in front of the house ever since we found the body, yes?
Yes, ma'am. That's right.
And did you see anyone leaving the house? Or anybody hanging about at all?
No, ma'am. There was no one there. And nobody would have got past me, that's for sure.
No, I'm sure they wouldn't. That glowering gaze of yours alone would be enough to send them scurrying back the way they came. As for the rest of us, did anyone find any trace of a break-in? Broken windows, muddy footprints, anything at all?
Indeed not. I saw nothing of the sort, and if I might say so, a magician's eyes are trained to spot even the smallest of details.
I didn't see anything either.
Not a thing.
Good then, so we agree. Nobody else has entered or left the house, which means that the killer is one of us, right here in this room.
Darling, this is just too much. If you make us wait even a moment more, I shall need a glass of brandy and a bottle of smelling salts.
Oh, I'll take more orange juice. If someone is getting drinks, that is.
Nah.
Yes, sir. But first, how about we hear who did it?
This is it then. There's no going back. It's time to end this. Whoever I point to now is not going to be terribly pleased with me. But that's fine, as I'm not terribly pleased with them either. If they wanted to have half a chance of getting away with this, they made a most misfortunate choice in trying to frame me.
It was Horatio.
It was you, Horatio. You killed Prince Titanico.
Me? Misfortune, surely you jest.
Horatio, my dear, I think we all agree that if anyone here is a jester, it's definitely you.
No. I am not a jester, a wizard, a sorcerer, a warlock, if you will. I'm absolutely sure we've been over this before.
Yeah. Grand Goofus of the court or whatever it was. Can we get to the point? Why do you think he did it?
Yes, why would I kill my oldest and closest friend? I am more distraught by this terrible affair than anyone. Completely and utterly distraught.
Yes, motive. To answer that question, I think we need to first understand why we're all here for this little party at all. Before he left us for the last time, the prince said that he would return with an announcement. I have an inkling of what it might have been.
Frozen the trees? Ah.
From the beginning, I've had the nagging impression that this entire evening was a show staged for just one special someone. That someone is you, Miss Charisse.
A show? For me?
Yes, for you. It's no secret to any of us at this point that you and the prince had been, shall we say, stepping out as of late. And so the climax to the prince's little drama is obvious. he was going to ask for your hand in marriage. That's why he had this with him, isn't it?
Ah.
Hey, where'd you get that?
Now, all in good time. For now, it's enough to prove the prince's intent. You don't look surprised, my dear.
No. Not completely surprised, anyway.
My, a grand public proposal then.
That's my friend. He was always such an incurable romantic.
Romantic? Oh, you poor naive boy. This was nothing of the sort. It was a cold, calculated move designed by the prince to get the result he wanted. Whisk the object of his affections out of her element into a strange and unfamiliar house, frighten her with ghost stories all evening, and then make a sweeping public proposal in front of a group of high society strangers like myself and the Comtessa. Oh yes, indeed. What girl wouldn't want all of that, I ask you?
Wow.
Horatio, my friend, tonight will be the night. I have arranged a nice little soiree at the Lee Manor. Just a small affair, so as to be intimate, but with guests that my beloved does not know well. The setting should be perfect.
Wow.
And you're going to propose right there, in front of everyone?
Yes, when the time is right. Of course, we must set the mood first. A flash of lightning, a clap of thunder, a macabre historical tidbit or two, and perhaps a little surprise courtesy of your talents, just to add a little more flair.
Why, of course. I can conjure up just the thing for you, I'm sure. But do you really think this will work?
My dear friend, how little you understand of the fair sex. This girl, she is pure as the fallen snow. She only sees the best in everyone. We have nothing to fear. She will be as putty in my hands.
I really must confess, it was all quite masterfully done. Rejecting a proposal under such circumstances would be unbelievably awkward, both socially and psychologically. Not a bad one to remember from my own books, I think.
This is all pure conjecture and, I might add, completely ridiculous.
Yes, you would be quite the authority on the ridiculous, wouldn't you?
But, be all of that as it may, you still have yet to get to the part where I have even the slightest reason to kill anybody.
Is that so? I rather thought by this point that would be obvious.
Oh, we want to marry Cherise.
It's the oldest tale in the book, really. Two men, one beautiful, charming, and extraordinarily wealthy young girl. You couldn't let Titanico marry Cherise because you wanted to marry her yourself.
That's...
All of your life, you've lived in your friend's shadow, haven't you? And here he was, planning to marry a dream wife under your very nose. It was too much. He had to be stopped. She had to be yours.
Well, now, you see, you look here. While, of course, I have nothing but admiration for Miss Cherise, I mean, it's just, as you say, who wouldn't? But the incontrovertible point here is, how could I possibly have killed the prince when I was the one in the basement busily fixing the lights at the time?
Ah, excellent. So we've moved on from the why to the how. Indeed, how was the prince killed after all?
How? Don't we know how? Took a shiv right to the back.
I'm not so sure it's that simple.
To be fair, we can't really fault Mr. Klops here for seeing only half the picture. The prince was stabbed, yes. But is that what killed him? I think that the prince...
Ooh, the cut wire. Ooh, electrocuted?
was attacked in quite a clever way, really. He was stabbed, yes, but that wasn't until he was already dead, or very close to it. First, he was electrocuted.
Electrocuted? Good heavens! You mean the bad wiring?
Yes.
Oh no, this was no accident. If you check the phone closely, you'll see it's got this rather sneaky extra wire hooked up to it. The phone's an older model with a metal casing, so if the wire was live...
I get it. The prince got shocked by the phone and tumbled off the balcony.
And broke his leg from the fall. After that, he was stabbed too. It's monstrous.
Hang on, but I picked up that phone. I didn't get shocked.
No, because at that point the wire wasn't live. But someone could have turned it on in the meantime. Someone in the breaker room.
Horatio.
So when I told the boss about the call in the dining room and he went to go get it...
Exactly. By the time he reached the phone, the wire was live.
Now, just wait 1 minute here. Since I was down in the breaker room at the time, how could I possibly have timed all of this so precisely? There's no way anyone could hear the phone ringing from the basement.
It's true, we didn't even hear it from the dining room.
My dear Horatio, I can't believe that I'm the one reminding us of all of this. But you are a magician. You had it all planned out from the beginning. Getting the timing right was easy because...
Ooh, Horatio made the call. Horatio tipped off the auditor. Oh. Ah, if he tipped off the auditor and then...
You were the one to tip off the caller. That call came from a financial auditor, a rather fastidious one who had been expressly asked to call at precisely the time that she did.
An auditor? Oh my word. Was the prince in trouble then? I simply had no idea.
Of course you didn't. Masquerading at being successful was Titanico's main talent.
And interesting theory, Misfortune, but you can't possibly have a shred of proof. And why would I tattle on my friend to a financial auditor?
You said yourself, more than enough times, that you were the only one the prince would take into his confidence, so no doubt you knew of his troubles. As for why, didn't I mention that earlier? That was another reason you had to act now. You knew that once they were married, the prince planned to bleed poor little Charisse dry to pay off his creditors. No, much better that he die now, and that his debts die with him.
Well, what about the stabbing then? Did I do that by remote too?
At last. I think it's time to play my trump card. By slipping the knife and the ring into my bag, the killer had hoped to set me up. But that had been their biggest mistake. In reality, all they did was give me the evidence I need to put an end to this. Yes, stabbing. A bit curious, don't you think? Between the high-voltage shock and the fall, the prince was almost certainly finished already. Why take the risk to stab a man who was already dead?
I give up. Why?
Quite simply, because stabbing leaves a mark that would draw our attention away from the real method of death, and one that lets you plant incriminating evidence on another guest to take the fall for your misdeeds. evidence, like this.
Hey, that's...
There's blood on it. Misfortune, where did you...
Why, I found it in my handbag, dear. Exactly where the killer wanted all of you to find it.
So that's it then? That's the knife that stabbed the prince.
Well,
No, remember there was a second knife.
actually, this isn't the knife that stabbed the prince. But we are meant to think that it was.
But the blade... I'm sure it's a match for the wound.
Indeed. But this knife has a twin. I found it hidden under the pillow in the queen bedroom. The Comtesse was there. She'll tell you the same.
Oh, yes, indeed. And there was blood on it as well.
In fact, wasn't that the very room you were in when the body was found, Comtesse? Tell me again. Who was it that came to get you then?
It was Horatio.
Oh! And you think Mr. Horatio stabbed the prince with that knife after shocking him from the breaker room? And then hid it in the bed where he found the Comtesse?
Quite so.
Hey, wait. That doesn't add up.
Add up? Mr. Klops, I never would have guessed arithmetic was your strong suit.
I found the boss. I mean, the prince. Almost as soon as the lights came on. So Horatio must have been back in the basement by then.
Perhaps he hurried back there after finishing. Oh.
No way. No time. It's quite a ways to the cellar. Running all the way up from there after shocking the phone, stabbing the boss, then all the way back down in time to flip the lights back on. All in the dark, too. Not a chance.
You see, Misfortune? Even Klops here can see that your version of events is complete nonsense. How are you going to explain this one?
Simple. Magic.
Uh-huh. You know, he doesn't really have magic, right?
Oh, I assure you, this is magic of the most mundane variety. You see, down in the basement, there's a little timer hooked up to the breaker. That's what caused our blackout earlier, by the way. All part of the show to emotionally destabilize poor little Charisse here. But if that timer could be used to flip a breaker once, why not again?
Oh, I see it. So Horatio goes to the basement, and instead of flipping the lights on right away, sets the timer again to turn them back on in a few minutes.
Why, aren't you the smartest little thing? Get your teacher to give you a gold star for that one. Yes, as you can see, he didn't have to make it all the way back to the basement. Just as far as the stairwell, so he could pretend to be coming back up.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I guess there'd be time, in that case.
Well, if you're all good and finished, there's just one important fact I'd like to point out. Right now, you have that knife, and I don't. Even if there was a second knife, which you could very well have planted yourself, I might add, at some point, you seem to think I somehow gave you this one. Seeing as I've apparently been spending all of my time running back and forth from the basement, arranging that little trick sounds impossible, even for my abilities.
This is it. The last piece of the puzzle. Get this right, and the wizard's house of cards will collapse like the flimsy sham that it is.
Oh, this is Fall Severance Planet. Ooh. When was Fall Severance Planet? Ooh. Ah. Ooh, during the blackout. There you go. I'm going with the blackout.
Of course. That's it. Everything comes back to that moment. That blackout was the key to the whole plan all along. That, my dear would-be wizard, is simplicity itself. It was during the perfect moment that you yourself have admitted to having engineered. The blackout in the dining room.
Oh, don't worry, my dear. You are safe with me.
Thank you. I was just a bit startled.
Oh, heavens, yes! The light's going out! What horror! I dare say I may faint myself, delicate flower that I am.
Oh, please, Misfortune, allow me. I've got you now.
Oh, what would we do without you? On second thought, you can unhand me. I seem to be quite all right.
Yeah, I guess that was a little weird, wasn't it?
He put the extra knife and the ring in your purse right then, when we could barely see anything.
Just so. I have no doubt the blood on my knife belongs to the prince, but no doubt it was easy for Titanico's closest confidant to collect a little sample in advance. And as for the ring, well, we were meant to think that I took it off the prince. In fact, that's exactly where you thought it was, wasn't it, Mr. Klops?
Me? What have I got to do with this?
Mr. Klops, I'm sorry, but I saw you go into the hall when you found the body. And it seemed to me you were in there for a little too long.
Not for long enough to kill a man, of course, but long enough to give his pockets a quick search for some valuable jewelry that you thought no one would miss.
Well, I mean, it's not like he was gonna need it, right?
Naturally not. But the prince was never carrying the ring himself, of course. That's a job you give to your best man. Although, perhaps in this case, I think worst man would be more appropriate. Wouldn't you say, Horatio?
You! How dare you! My sweet Charisse, don't listen to a word of it.
Hey, back off, you creep!
Don't you understand? He was only using you. It was I who was meant to be with you, not him. We would have been perfect together. This was the life I've been waiting for. This was the life I deserved.
No. You're nothing but craven villains. You and the prince both. You deserve exactly the company you got. Each other.
Misfortune. This is all your fault. You ruined everything. Everything! You will regret this. You will feel the fire of a warlock's wrath!
Damn, he's pissed off.
Ooh.
That felt good.
He felt the wrath of the Klops.
Mr. Klops, I don't know about your skills as a valet, but if I ever have need of a battering ram, I shall be most certain to give you a call.
Very pleased to have been of service, ma'am.
Goodness, after a finish like that, I shall need my doctor to prescribe me a sedative. Oh my word, I think the police are here at last. I shall let them in.
Gotta say, glad that's over. I have to wonder though, did he really think Sherry would fall for him so easily after offing her old boyfriend?
A shared traumatic event, a grieving young girl, a sympathetic friend, and a third-party villain to blame for it all. I've seen more unlikely scenarios.
And also, men who think very highly of themselves can have a lot of trouble believing not everyone thinks the same. They may have looked different, but Titanico and Horatio, they really were alike in many ways, I think.
You really are smarter than you look. Have I told you that yet?
You are too kind.
When I have compliments the best you're ever going to get. May as well take it, I guess.
Well, I fear that may be all the kindness I can muster for one evening. I imagine the police will want to take my statement, but after that, I hope Mr. Klops will be so good as to show me out with all haste.
I think they'll be wanting the prince's ring back, too, ma'am.
Oh, silly me. Did I put that back in my bag? It is a nice ring, I dare say. Say what you will about the prince, but he really did have good taste for certain things at least. Ta-ta then, everyone!
Wow, we had the true ending, so Horatio did it. And thank you for watching.